For 22 years, Arsenal carried the heaviest psychological burden in English football. An entire generation of supporters grew up watching a club that possessed immense potential, but continually collapsed before the finish line. The legacy of the 2004 Invincibles loomed over the Emirates. As the years passed, that unbeaten identity eroded, leaving behind a fragile team that opponents routinely bullied. The breaking point arrived in the 2022-2023 season. After leading the table for months, Arsenal's young squad was systematically dismantled by Manchester City in the final stretch. The post-mortems identified a recurring flaw. Arsenal played highly technical, aesthetically pleasing football, but they possessed a glass jaw. When matches demanded pure physical endurance, they shattered. To dethrone a mechanized opponent, aesthetic romance had to be discarded. Arsenal needed to become a monster. Mikel Arteta inherited a toxic, fractured dressing room entirely devoid of a winning mentality. He accumulated deep battle scars early in his tenure. Surrendering early leads to high-pressing teams and suffering heavy defeats forced a complete reevaluation of how his squad needed to operate. He abandoned the high-risk, fluid attacking structures of his early years. In their place, he installed a rigid system based on risk-averse, highly coordinated control. Arteta systematically removed tactical vulnerability from the squad's profile, ensuring that future failures would not be the result of individual fragility. The rebuild began with a cultural purge. Highly paid star players who refused to execute Arteta's strict tactical instructions were permanently exiled from the club. Those who survived the early turbulence formed the foundation of a younger, hyper-resilient core. They bought completely into a demanding new standard. But survival in the Premier League requires a dominant spine. Arsenal needed a massive upgrade in sheer physical power through the central axis of the pitch. The acquisition of Declan Rice for £105 million provided that power. He arrived to operate as the team's primary physical enforcer. This radar chart shows Arsenal's midfield metrics before and after his arrival. We see a massive expansion in duels won and defensive recoveries, categories where he personally topped the team rankings. Installing that profile in the midfield addressed a generation of weakness. It provided an unyielding shield for the defenders behind him. That imposing midfield shield sat directly in front of a completely revamped defensive unit that was specifically designed to be physically overwhelming. Center-backs William Saliba and Gabriel operated as physical deterrents, neutralizing attacks before they reached the penalty area. Over 3 seasons, goals conceded steadily dropped to just 26, alongside 32 clean sheets. Proving this was systemic, the chart morphs to expected goals against. It reveals an XG of just 0.80 per game. Opponents were mathematically starved of quality opportunities. Arsenal stopped outplaying opponents and started suffocating them. Defending became their primary weapon. When a team defends with that much control, opponents sit deep. That forces the attacking side to find highly efficient, low-risk methods to break through. Arteta's solution was to weaponize dead ball situations. He turned corner kicks into brutal, high-probability scoring operations. They scored a division-high 24 goals from set pieces this season, including a Premier League record 18 from corners. These were highly choreographed routines. Strategies like the near-post rush relied entirely on the imposing aerial dominance of targets like Kai Havertz. By trading open play sequences for rigid, repetitive execution from dead balls, Arsenal proved they valued cold efficiency over aesthetics. The 2025-26 run-in pushed this system to its absolute limit. Manchester City's attack relentlessly pursued them down the stretch. 3 years earlier, Arsenal panicked under similar pressure. This time, their internal conditioning held them steady. They ground out 8 separate 1-0 victories in the league. They managed the clock, minimized space, and closed out games with absolute control. That control yielded 85 points. It was enough to secure the Premier League title and break Manchester City's hold on the trophy. Slaying the giant required matching their physical relentlessness with a cold, unyielding pragmatism. The final whistle released a 22-year burden, sending a sea of red smoke pouring through the streets of North London. The legendary 2004 Invincibles are remembered for their romance and flair. This modern title-winning machine was built for a much harder era of the sport. This campaign demonstrates that a rigid internal culture can provide a functional advantage in a league where the margins between first and second have narrowed. Mikel Arteta proved that the only way to resurrect a fallen giant is to strip it to its studs and rebuild it as a monster.